Ladies and gentlemen, what you guys up to? I'll let the other guys in here in just a couple seconds. I just want to make sure, because I've done this a lot. So I think I got a little bit of a grasp on things, so it's been good. Welcome guys, welcome. You can't see me just yet, we know that. Welcome. I just want to say hi to everybody. I want to say for the audience that comes on my channel, I do want to let you guys know what's going on. This is the Unpl draft stream. This is going to be for a different league that I'm now taking a part of, but I'm just going to spearhead this here on my channel. And I have a couple co-hosts for me. I have Kurt the Bustle, excuse me, and I believe his name is Flygon, just Flygon. I thought it was like longer, but my boy Flygon and Kurt. I'm gonna let them hear in just a second. And Kurt, I know you can hear me, so I want to make sure that you are aware, my brother. Let's see. I'm gonna go like this. But hope everybody's having a great day. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. What a morning, to say the least, to get ourselves prepared for this. All right, so without further ado, let's hop on into the good stuff. Yeah, let's get it. Let's get it. Welcome everybody to the stream. Welcome. Surprise. What's up, guys? What's popping? So
there we go. Hey,
let's get it. So now we
let's get it, boys.
Kurt the Buswell, go ahead and introduce yourself, brother.
What up? I'm your coach of the Emerald and Emerus. We vibing out here. It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Welcome, guys. And Flygon, say hi to the people.
What's up, everybody? I'm Flygon, your coach of the Florida Flygons, and I'm very, very happy to be here. This is going to be hype as hell.
Welcome, team. Hey, guys. So this is the Unpl draft stream. You won't be able to see Flygon, but Kurt's going to be on screen the entire time. Kurt's actually one of the commissioners, owners of the league. So you want to give them a little bit more information about what we're going to see today and a little bit more info on the league itself.
So we got a points system draft with 20 points being the highest, and then we had the Terra system, which is 12 points and lower with some specific bans, 18-point cap for your Terra captains, and then it was 3 captains at most. You had 1 stab and then 2 extra Terra types.
Awesome. Flygon, you want to go through with how many coaches we have this season?
Yes, sir. All right, so we have in total 24 coaches, and they are both going to be split into 2 separate divisions. So we have the Naranja Division and we have the Uva Division. Yeah.
Nice. All right, guys, so it's going to be a big draft league this season. Typically, you see 16 coaches per. This is going to be the very first time we have a draft league, at least for us in this league, for the first DLC, which is massive. Coming from the GlitchhxCity Battle Royale, it's been one hell of a meta. This is going to be, basically to kind of explain what this is
so
that the game will update every so often, and every time the game updates, we allow more Pokemon into the league. So if you guys are a fan of Draft League, we are basically putting these Pokemon into what's called tiers to create this, what we call fantasy sport. So we're marrying fantasy football, which is the best comparison, with Pokemon. The admins of the UNPL have determined what the value is for each and every Pokemon competitively. There is the highest tier, which we deem as the most broken Pokemon that are going to be available for us to draft. At the highest value, the lowest value, still viable, but not as much as the high tiers. All these coaches are going to be split up into divisions. The Uva Division being purple, Naranja Division being, as you know, orange/red. Once we got split, we got reorganized and re-randomized into an actual draft order. First pick is going to go, followed by the second, third, so on and so forth. But we did do it in a snake style format. The way we're going to be doing it here in the draft stream is we're going to go through per round, in which each pick is picked per then, just for naming purposes of these slides. And then we're going to talk a little bit about these Pokemon, what their viability is, if we're surprised that this was picked at this moment, does it fit within the team, etc. So we're going to go for, I believe, Kurt, how many weeks do we have this season?
It's a 9-week season before playoffs.
Okay, so you have 9 weeks where we're going to have an entire full schedule. Each coach will have an opportunity to have an entire week to prepare their team and bring what they think is going to be the best 6 Pokemon for that matchup. We're going to play a game, 6v6 singles. Really cool format. It's your first time, welcome. Draft League is very stressful, very addicting, and fun to watch. So hope you guys enjoy this.
That's the best way to put it.
Part of this league. Kurt, do you have anything else to say before we're hopping into it?
No, not at the moment, but I'm sure we'll have something else to say later.
Sweet. Flygon, you got anything?
I'm just really excited for all of this. This is really hype. We have so many talented people here, and yeah, I think this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, guys. There's gonna be a lot of really good content creators. My biggest excitement, there's gonna be a lot of content creators you may have not seen on YouTube before. That's big exciting for me. I like to bring more people into the scene. You guys don't want to see my face all the time. That's not how it goes. I want to bring in more. So without further ado, guys, we're gonna go for the very first pick of the Uva and the Naranja Division. Is going to be, boom, we have myself, I take Unpl, and then we have Shadow Stick that takes D.Rey. D.Rey was indeed allowed, which is actually bananas. Listen, we're gonna see. TBD. I personally don't think it's that broken. It's not that great in my personal opinion. It's very fast, base 125 speed, very strong base 135 special attack. But, you know, getting nerfed with its, you can go finagle and switch things around for the sleep ability, but for the most part, I think that Unpl is a little bit better. Unbiased, fantastic Pokemon. It's going to be really hard hitting, very fast. There's not very many things in this meta that outspeed it. Having something that comes in and basically is hella and you can clean in the late game is going to be really nice with the ice and dark typing. Very good stuff.
So for round 2, we have Will taking the D.Rey, and obviously that was going to go in the top 3 picks of both. They're both really, really good picks. And then we have Danny with the new Ursaluna. This thing, it just looks like a monster already. Like, just trying to prep for that type combo on a special side when you're only switching is Call for Night, really. It's going to be a monster to prep for.
Yeah, the Ursaring is going to be, the Blood Moon edition being the special side is going to be nuts. So Blood Moon Ursaluna is going to be something that we're going to have to really look out for, especially since it's so new. Flygon, what do you think about this one here?
Oh wow, I wonder why I drafted this. So third pick here, coming from me, we have the Baxcalibur. Obviously, as you guys know, Baxcalibur did get banned in Gen 9 OU with the combination of Terra and Aurora Veil and all that really dumb stuff. It got access to Scale Shot, this DLC, making it an even bigger threat with its Sword Stance set. And not only that, but Baxcalibur is just one of those Pokemon that you look at in a draft setting and you're just like, how am I going to build something that can deal with this monster? Because it feels like almost every single draft league, people just have to try and find weird, creative ways to try and deal with this monster that hits so hard, has so many setup opportunities, has amazing bulk, has an incredible offensive typing. And it makes sense for it to go this early on.
Next up, we have Mew, and we'll have the Walking Wake. Mew's coming back into glory just a little bit. Still doesn't have its recovery moves like Recover and Slack Off and Roost. But nonetheless, being able to set up and have a little bit more toys that comes in. Having access to things like Scald and Knockoff is really cool for it. Having access to all hazards, fantastic Pokemon. It's a good glue piece. And the Walking Wake, getting some new toys. The Walking Wake now has Knockoff and Flip Turn, which is pretty cool. Being able to just come in and be a very threatening offensive Pokemon and then just Flip Turn out on whatever it's supposed to be a check for your opponent, very scary.
100%. And then, so now we have the Dragapult. Again, not a surprise that that thing went so early in the draft. It's just a monster to prep for. And Misery with the interesting pick of Pheasantipity on round 1. I mean, new toy syndrome, I can't really blame him for that one. it looks like a lot of fun to play with, honestly. Like, Technician with double kick and dual wing beat on top of Swords Dance, and it's not too slow at 99 speed. It's faster than, you know, Lando T. And with its ability Toxic Chain, being able to just throw Toxics around on whatever it wants. These new mons are just going to be a whole lot different to prep for now.
Oh yeah. Flag,
Alright,
anything
yeah,
about this pick?
next up. Yep, alright, Scrub with the Qian Pao. Makes a lot of sense. Qian Pao is always going to do Qian Pao things. Qian Pao is that guy by the end of the day. Easily a top 3 Pokemon in draft. Just so oppressive offensively, having setup options. Having some weird niche options too, like Recover. I've seen Recover Qian Pao go off. It's very weird. But this one, with its offensive capabilities, it can basically do whatever it wants. While Rupee over here has a Tornadus T. People kind of sleep on Tornadus T considering it doesn't get defog anymore. You know, like it isn't that like off, like just that pure utility mon anymore. But the fact that it still has Nasty Plot against Bleak Wind Storm, as being able to, you know, hit all that, like, it's good.
Yeah, now we have the Spider-Man meme coming up. We have double Uva and Naranja hitting the Iron Valiant. This Pokemon is crazy. I mean, you can argue this is top 3 Pokemon in the meta. I would interchange this with Urshifu Rapid Single Strike, which is actually banned. But this Pokemon is incredible. Very good threatening offensive sweeper and cleaner. Literally with having access to Vacuum Wave makes this Pokemon immensely better. Having a special side priority move that Stab is pretty nuts. And they go in this kind of late is because of, like what Kurt said, that new toy syndrome. Still, an Iron Valiant does crazy things. The fighting and the fairy typing is incredible. So that's pretty nice that it went this late.
Yep, and then here's the Urshifu Rapid. Like, this is another mon that, without the new toy syndrome, this thing would have just gone super early. It's honestly an amazing mon. Unseen Fist, so you can't protect on it. And then we have the Ogerpon for onesie, and again, the new toy syndrome. This thing looks like so much fun to play with. 120 attack, 110 speed, being able to Swords Dance, Trailblaze, all that kind of fun stuff. It's honestly, and it's defiant. Like, you know, it's now another Intimidate check that can come in with Lando being able to resist, like, the Earthquake. So we've got another good Earthquake resist.
Alright, yeah, so we got Just Lucas with the Manaphy. Manaphy, a lot of people talking about Manaphy right now. It gets Tail Glow. It's just an amazing sweeper, amazing bulk, has great coverage. Manaphy is going to do just awesome things in this draft. It's going to be Manaphy, it's going to do Manaphy things. Now we got Ursaluna. People kind of, I don't want to say sleeping on it, but overlooking it for its Blood Moon form. Ursaluna's still that guy, that 140 base attack. Facade boosted with Burn, Guts, all of that. Incredible defensive properties. Just a really good all-arounder Pokemon that any draft would really want because of its ability to fight so offensively but having really good defensive qualities.
Facts. And there he is. Dragapult finally going in the Naranja Division. Depending on who you ask, is the best Pokemon in the format. And to me, seeing this thing go so late is actually kind of gross. Fantastic Pokemon, base 142 speed. Not very many things not named Electrode and Regieleki, if you think that Pokemon is good, are faster than Dragapult. It's very form-fitting to each and every matchup. Ogerpon Heartflame, recently, as of yesterday, I think, just got banned to Uber in the OU metagame. So now that it's being allowed here, so surprise, this was drafted a couple days ago, so it's still here and it's allowed. We're gonna see if it has the same overpowered viability in draft league, but this Pokemon is very good with the grass and fire typing, but it is Terra Lot. This is not a Terra Captain.
So, and now we have yet another top Pokemon with Baxcalibur going a little later. Probably the new Toy Syndrome still with in the Uva Division on Shadow Ace. Another very scary mon. And then Arsenal picking the Iron Bundle, which is, I've heard argued as one of the best mons. The reliance on Hydro Pump definitely doesn't help it be one of the best Pokemon, but its typing with Freeze Dry, the Quark Drive, being able to boost its speed, boost its special attack, it just becomes an absolute monster that can snowball endgames if it's positioned correctly. It's just, both of these mons being picked this late, disgusting.
Alright, we got Sunak with Meowscarada. Meowscarada, in my opinion, is just such an amazing draft Pokemon. I remember using it for the first time in draft, and its speed stat, its ability to do anything with protein and the amazing coverage moves it gets. It's just like, Meowscarada is that speedy, offensive, with utility options Pokemon that you always want in your drafts. Just an amazing pickup overall. Now we got Gliscor. I think Gliscor is going to be one of the top mons in my opinion in draft, and not only that, but just this current meta in general. Gliscor getting so many options. I'm pretty sure it gets T-Spikes, it gets Knock. I forget what other new moves it gets, but it got a lot. I think it got Toxic too. Not only that, amazing typing, Poison Heal. Crab Hammer, let's go!
Crab Hands.
Now, dude, oh my god, this thing just has amazing coverage, an incredible Pokemon already, given even more tools. I think this thing's gonna pop the hell off this season, and I think you're gonna be seeing it a lot more in future drafts too, because I just think right now Gliscor is that guy.
Facts. Guys, this is crazy. So this is the end of round 1. So basically what we're gonna do this is typically in draft format for normal typical draft streams, but this isn't your normal typical draft stream. We would go bound Snake. So just to kind of keep this in the back of your head, we did draft in a Snake style format, meaning that these are the last 2 picks of round number 1. So therefore these 2 coaches had the very first pick in round number 2. But in review, we're actually going to go with back to the very beginning. So you're going to see I believe my team as well as the San Antonio Sparse. So we're basically gonna go unordered, just in terms of just reviewing the actual drafts themselves, which is really cool in regards to us being able to see how they wanted to draft and how their teams kind of go about. If you can see in the bottom left hand corner of each of the slides for the individual teams, you'll see a little small icon for each Pokemon, and then as they start to pick and stack up, you'll be able to see their team stack up from there, so we could talk about the synergy about those teams, and then so on and so forth. So with that, we have the second round. Second round comes up, you have your boy. We have Ogerpon, baby. So as Chris said before, I personally think this is the best one, at least in draft format, because this Pokemon doesn't have to hold a mask. The teal mask form isn't able to Terra, so therefore it is able to hold anything at all. Assault Vest, Heavy Duty Boots, Life Orb, Band, if I want to run anything like that. It is more of a physically offensive Pokemon, but the coverage that it has is incredible. Having access to a grass type move that has coverage for like dragon types and rock types and low kick is really nice. And then Zapdos goes to pair off with Darkrai, which is actually kind of gross now that I think about it. Very bulky Pokemon with static, being able to pair a Pokemon as they want to make contact with it and being able to roost and U-turn out. Very good mon to pair off and get that Darkrai in.
So, and then we have Will picking up the Garchomp to pair with his Darkrai, which is another disgusting pair, just absolutely. I'm not looking forward to prepping for that one at all. That's just going to be so hard to prep for. And then Danny getting the Infernape, so he just has like momentum into that Ursaluna, which is again disgusting. I'm so glad that he's in the other division and I don't have to worry about him until playoffs. But yeah, definitely both of these mons being physical offensive threats to go alongside their special attacking threats. These 2 teams are just going to be absolute powerhouses coming through the main 9-week season, and it's going to be hard to prep for both of these teams.
Yes, sir. So we got me over here with the Galarian Slowking. It doesn't take a genius to figure out why Galarian Slowking and Baxcalibur are paired together. Chilly Reception plus Baxcalibur with that defense boost in the snow. Not only that, but that Ice Body ability, giving him that healing. But not only that, I think Lowking is like easily like top 10, top 5 Pokemon in draft. It just does everything. It has such amazing defensive abilities, has incredible coverage, cover moves it really just shouldn't get. It's just that Pokemon that whenever you see in the draft, you're just like, god damn it, I have to prep for this thing again. And we got Galarian Zapdos. It gets knockoff with the DLC. Amazing coverage move, not only that, but it's just such an oppressive threat. Gotta be a big threat.
Walking Away goes in the second round in this for the Uva Division, which is for the Naranja Division, which just kind of blows my mind. I feel like the knockoff and the flip turn add-on makes this Pokemon so incredibly viable even outside Sun. Being able to just flip turn add-on to your checks is just absolutely mind-blowing. And then we have Snorlax. Surprisingly enough, I was actually surprised because 1, I'm in the Uva Division and I wanted Snorlax. Who brings Snorlax? Who drafts Snorlax round 2? I was so upset. Listen,
this man does.
Snorlax is that guy. I get it. He's the boy. He's tubby. He's fat. He chews special hits. But second round, I was upset he's spaghetti. But fantastic Pokemon. It isn't his Terra Captain, but it is a really good Pokemon to soak up those ghost type hits and those special types have been over general.
So, Jorge over here in the Uva Division, pairing up Bundle with Holt, he has a very specially threatening team. Like, there is not a whole lot that switches in on the special side for this team. Bundle, again, as I said before, just does so much damage with Freeze Dry and Hydro Pumps that you just don't have many checks. And Misery picking up the Corviknight to pair off that ground weakness of the Pheasantipity as well as the Psychic weakness. I think these 2 together are going to be really disgusting because Corvi being able to just sit there and stall out any sort of toxic chain shenanigans that he wants to do with Serendipity is just going to be so painful to prep for.
Alright, next up we got Scrub Supreme with the Claypool paired up with the Unpl. Clef, just every single generation before this was just that Pokemon, that annoying ass Pokemon you never wanted to face. It does everything. It's amazing offensively, defensively, 2 incredible abilities with Magic Guard and Unaware. People, I probably are overlooking it, but I think it's just going to be that sturdy glue Pokemon that it always has been. Iron Tread's an amazing Pokemon to draft, being able to run a lot of offensive, defensive utility sets with Rapid Spin, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, and just it being able to abuse that Quark Drive with Booster Energy or being on any Electric Terrain team makes it a big threat.
I am very biased, and I feel like I sit on this island alone. I think that Empoleon should be the top of round 2 every single time. This Mon is incredible value. The Steel and Water type one is like, I think like this Pokemon in regards to resistances is off the charts. Having access to Roost now is incredible. Access to Flip Turn to chew any hit it needs to and just roost it off later and just get in your threats is crazy. And the buff moving from Defiant onto competitive, so it still has that especially offensive presence. Empoleon it should have gone higher. I really wanted to take it, but being first overall, I have to sit for a really long time. So I'm really curious to see how that's being utilized. And then Komo-o is just Komo-o now in Gen 9, which is so much better.
Yeah. And then we have Emerald Miner picking up his Logomon of Mew. Again, like D.Rey said, just so many new toys on this Pokemon. It has all of the hazards now. It has all of the different setup options. It can run stored power. It's just a disgusting one to try and prep for. It doesn't even need the recovery. It just sits on everything. And then Chi-Yu paired with the Ogerpon. These two are they're just going to break teams open. It's just going to be so hard to prep because you just cannot prep to switch into Chi-Yu. There isn't many switch-ins to Chi-Yu. And then pairing that with the Fizdef with Ogerpon, absolutely disgusting.
Alright, we got Alolan Ninetales plus Manaphy here. I am not looking forward to facing this, bro. I do not want to deal with this. Obviously, you got Manaphy setting up those Tail Glows under Veil. Alolan Ninetales being able to set up Veil, also a lot of utility options with Encore, with cheeky Hypnosis, just an amazing support Pokemon that is able to enable so many just extremely big offensive threats like Manaphy with setup options. And we got Monkey Dory here. We got one of the I forget what they're called, the trio that just got introduced in the DLC. It's a very big special attacker. It does rely on Focus Blast to hit those steel types, but it does have Toxic Chain and it does have Frisk, which are 2 really good abilities for it.
God, I'm going here with the most freaking Spider-Man memes. We have 2 guys thinking the same way. We have Palafin. I love Palafin. There's one thing that I love in Draft League is to get a Pokemon in and click a single button. This Pokemon is very brain dead, very good, and to pair off with Ogerpon Fire and Dragapult, I think that this is an incredible pairing for both teams. There is that drawback. You either love Palafin or you hate him. Having to come into the baby form, you do have to activate 0 to hero by coming into the battle and having to simply switch out. You don't have to make contact, you just simply have to switch. Sometimes some players will say that's a little bit too much. Others say that it's annoying, but most say that it's pretty broken to just have that one stipulation to have legendary stats. So, fantastic Pokemon.
Yeah, and then the Great Tusk paired with the Baxcalibur for Shadow Ace. This team, physically, disgusting. Both of these Pokemon so strong, and then Great Tusk being able to run physically defensive as well as a check for those fighting types for the Baxcalibur. God, those two are just going to be so painful to prep for. I mean, it is very fairy weak, so hopefully he can patch that up, because at the moment he does not have a Moonblast switch in, and that's a big problem. Then Arsenal picking up the Rotom Heat to pair off with the Iron Bundle, giving him that slower momentum to get the Iron Bundle in safely is just, that's disgusting.
Speaking of Rotom Heat, we got Rotom Wash right there. We got the laundry. Rotom Wash plus Meowscarada, we got that U-turn, we got that Volt Switch, that classic, being able to pivot in and out of each other, being able to cover each other's weaknesses too. Just really nice overall, really like this pick. And we got Chi-Yu, enough said, like specs, overheat, I'm going to nuke everything on your team. Can run flame charge sets as well. I've had to deal with that before, that's not fun. Chi-Yu just does Chi-Yu things by the end of the day. Pairing that up with the Gliscor gives him a good blend of defensive options with the Gliscor, but offensive options with that Chi-Yu having that nuke button, that makes switching into it an absolute nightmare to deal with. And U-turn with that Gliscor being able to get you in for free.
And then we have me, Lando the King, man. I can't pass it up. I was thinking to myself, I need a ground type that's able to take advantage of both Ogerpon and Chien-Pao, and nonetheless, what Lando doesn't like is grass types. And when I have the Chien-Pao, Lando comes in for free. So these three offensively, synergistically, I thought was incredibly too good to pass up. And still having the utility options, things like knockoff, being able to U-turn in and out, having access to intimidate is really nice to be able to just soak up hits on the physical side and just to get things off like a rocky helmet damage or things like that. I lost rock polish, which is unfortunate, but still nonetheless is still a very good offensive Pokemon. And then we have another ground type in Iron Treads, being able to come in and just remove those hazards. It's one of those really good ones that can help you remove, and having access to the future Paradox Pokemon is actually really nice.
Yep, and then we have Will picking up Manaphy. Like, this man is just drafting all of the threats and slapping them together. This thing is... He has Darkrai, Manaphy, Garchomp. Like, I don't understand how he got this. Manaphy probably should have gone round 2. But it is what it is, and this man has a disgusting team. And it's going to be a pain to prep for. And then we have Danny with the Mandibuzz. So again, he's getting more momentum, but this time he's got a fat Dark type that can remove hazards for his Ursaluna and his Infernape, as well as Toxic, because it can just whittle teams down for Ursaluna to clean up.
Alright, next up we got on my side the Big Ting Lu, just an incredible defensive Pokemon. It can tank any hit in the game. It can tank hits that it really shouldn't because of its ability Vessel of Ruin, lowering that special attack, so it being a really oppressive defensively while also being able to lower the special attack, setting up hazards. Ting Lu does Ting Lu things, and we got Ogerpon Wellspring over here from Kurt, one of the newer Pokemon. It can Terra, by the way. It obviously can only Terra with that water typing, but with access to Sword Stance, with access to knockoff, U-turn, it gets Leech Seed, I'm pretty sure. It can run a lot of offensive and defensive things.
And then we got the Ogerpon Rock, the Cornerstone, which I think is the coolest of the bunch in regards to the mask. But we have the Grass and Rock typing. Very powerful Ivy Cudgel, being able to get 100 base power Rock type move, which is 100 that won't miss, which is I think an anomaly because everything else misses. Rock Slide, yeah.
Everything else misses.
So being able to have an offensive Rock type, being on the Rock type move is actually really good offensively. And then we have Great Tusk going into the third round, which kind of blows my mind. This Pokemon is like the ultimate just end all be all Pokemon, being able to be an offensive threat, defensive threat, and getting rid of hazards, setting up hazards, removing items with knockoff. I don't think that should have happened, so shame on all the Naranja Division, but there it goes. So A-Prater was able to grab that.
And then we have Jorge picking up the Clefable, so he's now starting to pick up his defensive core to pair with his specially offensive threads. He's still very much on the special side for his offense, with Clefable being able to Calm Mind, Moonblast, and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be disgusting to try and deal with, because now he's got Dragapult, Clef, and I just don't want to deal with that. And then we have Misery picking up the Garchomp to go alongside the Corviknight. So he's starting to pick up, so he's got his Dragon Fairy Steel Core now, with Pheasantipity, Corviknight, and Garchomp. Garchomp being able to get access to spikes now really helps the Pheasantipity sort of just clean up endgame and helps whittle the team down.
Alright, next up we got Scrub Supreme with the Gliscor, pairing a defensive, just a nasty defensive core with Clefable plus Gliscor. Good luck trying to break through this. Obviously, Gliscor with that Poison Heal being able to cover that off. U-turn into the Chien-Pao, get that thing in for free. And now we got Rotom Wash pairing up beautifully with the Tornadus T, with the Iron Treads. By the end of the day, that Volt Switch, U-turn, keeping up that momentum as much as possible, spreading burns, being able to set up with Nasty Plot, and incredible typing, that incredible ability, and Levitate, being able to switch into those Earthquakes. So 2 Earthquake immunities, which is never a bad thing.
Gengar's coming in and getting the Glomora. I am a huge fan of Glomora. Fantastic Pokemon, being able to just come in and just get rid of hazards with its own stab move, which is really nice. It doesn't get blocked by steel types, but then you can argue that Rapid Spin gets blocked by ghost types, so like it's kind of the same thing. And being able to just get physical damage done to it and then just automatically set up T-Spikes is actually pretty gross. Also having access to Spike and Stealth Rock, great Pokemon, fantastic special attack stat with great coverage is really nice. And then we have Torterra, which is one of those Pokemon with Mutor Syndrome, access to Shell Smash. We'll see. TBD. I don't think it's that good. I probably don't. I was talking to a buddy of mine, starts with the J. He loves this Pokemon and he thinks it's overpowered, but we'll see. TBD.
Yeah, it's to be decided. And another late round pick being Ting Lu. This thing lasting this long is, I mean, it makes sense, but it's still such a really good defensive Pokemon because, again, as we said with the Vessel of Ruin, meaning that it can switch in on special Pokemon as well as physical Pokemon, making this thing really, really nice. Again, lack of recovery for this thing though, so he's relying a lot on rest with this thing. So we'll see how that goes because it pairs really nicely with Urshi. And then we have the Duck. The Duck is here, and this thing alongside Ogapon and Chiyu, I'm not looking forward to how people are going to deal with that because this thing just snowballs so quickly.
Alright, we got the Don here. We're not talking about Great Tusk, we're not talking about Iron Treads. We just got average Tusk here. We got Don Fan, who's still going to be able to do this thing. Quite frankly, I'm surprised that this thing went as early as it did in comparison to a lot of other Pokemon. But that doesn't mean Don Fan is a bad Pokemon. Has access to Spin, has access to Stealth Rock. Really good attack stat, defense stat. Sturdy is can always come in clutch. Goldango, just that annoying ass Pokemon that you have to deal with every single draft. Nasty Plot, Recover, Shadow Ball, Make It Rain is just one of the stupidest moves ever. Yeah, that Pokemon crazy.
Now we have Toxtricity, which actually is going to be the Terra Captain for Dashing Sceptile. Fantastic Pokemon. Being able to get Terra Normal Boom Burst is actually kind of nuts. A very good Pokemon to come in and soak up T-Spikes. Very good offensive mon. It's not that crazy with a 114 base special attack stat. It's Punk Rock boosted just a little bit, but it's not overwhelming, but it's still a really good Terramon. And then we have Zarude. Zarude here got one of the biggest buffs in the actual DLC, getting access to Knockoff. Finally, having that stab Knockoff and not having to run Crunch after losing Darkest Lariat is huge for Zarude. Being able to set up things like Swords Dance, having Jungle Healing to be able to remove its own status to set up is great. U-turn, this Pokemon is a very good offensive piece.
And then we now have the Glow King paired with the Baxcalibur, just like Flygon did, except this thing went in round 3 instead of 2. Probably should have gone in round 2 because Glow King is just insane. The value you get out of that Pokemon with Regenerator plus Chilly Reception into any sort of Ice type is just absolutely mental. And the defensive capabilities that it's switching in now on those fairy attacks for his fairy weakness, just, yeah. He has a really scary team. Then Arsenal getting the Zapdos Galar to now start on the physically offensive side. And as we said earlier, this thing now gets knockoff. And that pair is just, I'm not looking forward to it.
Alright, shout out to Shadow Ace, great minds think alike. Next up we got Jirachi. It's just as annoying as it always has been. It's going to do the same thing it always does. Iron Head flinches here and there, Serene Grace, maybe a Fire Punch burn here and there. Jirachi's going to do its thing, Incredible Bulk, and being one of the most annoying Pokemon to deal with, period. And we got another new mon here in Okidogi. I hope I'm saying that right. Being able to set up bulk ups, having really good coverage moves. Just this thing for some reason reminds me of like Buzzwole and being able to just like bulk up and Drain Punch, heal that off, having decent bulk. Guard Dog, I forget if it's even like a good ability or not, I'm gonna be honest.
It's an ability to negate Intimidate, so it's not too bad on this Pokemon.
Oh no, that's
Guard
not
Dog.
too bad at all. That's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes sir. And so Okidogi, I'm really interested in seeing how it's gonna do this season because I honestly have no idea whether it's gonna be really good, really bad. I guess we just gotta wait and see.
The ugly stepchild of Incineroar and Buzzwole. Fantastic mon.
That's what I keep on saying to people. This thing reminds me of Incineroar, and people are just like, I don't see it. And I'm just like, no, just look at it closer.
Look at it closer. Squint! So guys, if I can get a reminder, we have concurrent viewers from 18 to 30, sometimes it spikes up to 40, and then now it's dropped down to 18. If I can grab you guys a light, that'd be fantastic. Also in the description, there's going to be a link to the Discord server. We need more people on there. If you can hop on over there, you have a Discord, go into the Discord server where you guys have access to grab roles for each and every coach. So when they post their videos, you can get notified. That way you can watch your favorite coach. If it's me, hey, if it's anyone else you want to watch, each and every week, so you can follow with them, interact with us. Is a good place. It's a cool place. With that being said, guys, fellas, let's go into round number 4. We have myself taking Heatran. I don't know why Heatran was at round 4. Debatably one of the best, if not the best steel type in the format. Fantastic being able to pair off with the fire typing. Making a fire type not weak to rocks and being able to come in is very, very nice. Also being able to immune to fire type moves is fantastic for Ogerpon that I liked a lot. It's also able to take care of ice types and fairy types, which my offensive Pokemon have really struggled with. So being able to come in and sponge those hits and also be an offensive threat is great with base 130 special attack. And then we have Rillaboom that got Grassy Glide. Grassy Glide being paired off with the Iron Treads is interesting. We'll see how that works out. But then also being able to go in with the Zapdos is really cool to threaten those flying types and those water types. But now that I got Grassy Glide back, Rillaboom is back.
Rillaboom is indeed back. And now Will picking up, well, starting to go defensive with his team. And he's getting the Florges, so now he has the Wish Core to go along with his Garchomp and his Darkrai. So this team is just getting scarier and scarier with each round that we go through. And I do not look forward to this thing in main season. That team is going to be disgusting. And Denny has picked up the Monkey. The Monkey is here. He now has double Monkey alongside the Ursaluna. So he is definitely picking up a lot of offensive threats and momentum alongside that Ursaluna, because now he has access to Parting Shot to get in the Ursaluna and make it a lot safer to get into Ursaluna.
Alright, next up we got Iron Moth here. Really, I should not have gone this Pokemon. I don't know why it lasted until round 4. Y'all should not have done that. This thing is one of the biggest offensive threats, just period, in draft. That amazing special attack stat, that amazing speed stat, having so many coverage moves like Discharge. This thing should not get Discharge. Why does it have Discharge? But also having access to U-Turn, Quark Drive, being able to boost any one of its stats, probably either special attack or speed if you want to do that. It's incredible for it. And then we got Cresselia. Even though its stats did get a little bit nerfed this generation, that doesn't mean Cresselia isn't a threat, because it always is that threat. And if I am mistaken, is this thing Terra or no?
No.
No. But even without Terra, it's still a big threat.
They have Armarouge. Master J said, fuck it. We're just going to get Pokemon. And so he gets Armarouge here. After grabbing Snorlax around 2, I'm still salty. Fantastic bond, though. Very bulky. Fire and Psychic type. Very offensive Pokemon. It's the counterpart to Ceruledge, depending on which flavor ice cream you like better. Then we have Diancie. Very good Fairy type. Kind of going a little bit early, but then again, Fairies kind of come a dime a dozen. With the DLC, we got more, but Diancie is really good at getting access to Spikes this generation, and having access to a really powerful offensive Rock type and Moonblast is very good.
And then now we've got the start of the physical offense for Jorge. And he's picking up the Slitherwing, and this thing with its first impression of base 135 attack, Banded, this thing just absolutely nukes through teams. It's just a lot of scary, scary mons on Jorge's team. And then we have Misery picking up the Lycanroc Dusk. I might say it's a little early in round 4. It's probably more around 5-6 mon, but you know, you gotta be secure in the mons that you want to pick. And I mean, access to Accelerock off Tough Claws with Sword Stance, this thing just hits extremely, extremely hard. And with that priority, as well as close combat, being able to just nuke.
Alright, yeah, next up we got Scrub Supreme with Napoleon going round 4, which, again, this is surprising to me. I feel like this is going to be a very common theme in this draft. Seeing Pokemon go later than you really didn't expect them to. Like, you would expect them, something like Empoleon to go early because of that new competitive ability that it has, being able to boost its special attack. Finally, Defiant never made sense for it, having a lot of really good offensive, defensive options. And then we got Infernape. I really like how Rupee's team's coming together so far. Being able to just look at all of this, like U-turn, Volt Switch, U-turn. Like, imagine just trying to check this team defensively. It's gonna be a nightmare.
And then we have Gengar, and then JB Westside. Samurott. I love this Pokemon. I don't think I've ever fallen in love with the Pokemon more. I had to really keep myself from drafting it this time. Literally has 0 drawback. This Pokemon with Ceaseless Edge, having access to literally click a move that stab, and very powerful, and getting its spikes for free. Very good Pokemon, and now has access to Flip Turn. So my urge was really starting to irk me. And then we have Rillaboom again to kind of go into it a little bit more than I did last time. Having access to Swords Dance boosted Wood Hammers is really good. This Pokemon is a fantastic breaker. They didn't give it high horsepower. They did lose that, but Drain Punch is okay. Good coverage. It's a good bulky Pokemon. So Rillaboom going a little bit later in the same round. Pretty good.
And now we see the Pheasantipity from Emerald Miner, and honestly, this is more where I expected it. Instead of round 1, it's more of a round 4 or 5 mon with its speed tiering and its especially defensive capabilities. I didn't get to touch on that with Misery, but the special defense on this Pokemon being base 125, this is a really, really good switch in to like other poison types as well as fairy types. Because with an Assault Vest, this thing just choose any sort of special hit that you want to throw at it and can just sort of double kick or play rough or just whatever it wants to do at that point. Then Onesie with the Sylveon, he's starting to pick up the defensive core of himself, and it's going to be hard to prep for that.
Alright, we got just Lucas here with the Goldango. I think Goldango is almost a perfect pairing with Alolan Ninetales because you want to defog those screens away, blocks it. You want to break those screens away, Goldango. So it's an amazing parry with that Alolan Ninetales that also abuses it with Nasty Plot being able to set up under that Aurora Veil and hit as hard as humanly possible. Then we got Meowscarada here for Dapper Snapper. Again, just a really good Pokemon with all these options with Protein, which even if Protein is nerfed this generation, is still really good on it. Being able to get stab on something like Play Rough can really be that like pushing edge to like OHKOing a Pokemon that you might not have otherwise.
Mandibuzz is that Pokemon that I'm very surprised no one actually looked at. This mon lost nothing. It came back and the only thing that it lost is PP on its roost. So like this mon is fantastic. Still did the same thing it did last gen, and if not better, because again a lot of stuff got nerfed and this still thing stays on top. Dark and Flying, very good sponge. Having to run boots on your physically defensive, if not special defensive Pokemon to come in on hazards kind of sucks, but nonetheless it's still a Mandibuzz, does really good things. And then Heatran, like what we have on my side, the fact that it went this late in the Naranja Division kind of blows my mind. Fantastic steel type Pokemon, just a good fairy check, and being able to come in on those grass types for Palafin and the fairy types for the Zarude and the steel types for the Zarude, very good pairing.
Yeah, I think Naranja was drafting on crack, honestly. But Shadow Ace is picking up the Samurott, so your favorite Pokemon D.Rey is now gone. You couldn't take it. And this thing is just absolutely disgusting. Obviously, missing Ceaseless sucks, but you know, like it's still such a strong Pokemon. Then we got Arsenal picking up the Glamora, as we said before, getting a free turn of Toxic Spikes if you hit it physically, as well as being able to Toxic with Corrosion on the Steel types. That's really nice as a sort of tech. It can just Toxic any sort of Steel type that wants to come in and try and check it on its Mortal Spin or something like that. So, really good pairing there.
Alright, we got Sunak drafting Delphox this early on. Pretty surprising to see Delphox go this early on. I mean, obviously it does get access to Nasty Plot, making it a really good setup option with Fire Blast, with Side Shock, with Energy Ball. Though it is surprising to see it go this early, I am not surprised that someone did decide to draft it, because it is just like that Pokemon that is very slept on. And over there, obviously, whoops. Lost track a little bit, it's alright.
And then we have going on to round number 5. This is so we blazing, guys. It's looking good. So now we have the Hatterene going on my side. Hatterene, I think, is going to be a really good pairing for this team. I really needed to deter hazards because I don't have any removal. So I figured if I can't get a good spinner, why not just force them to think twice about setting up the hazards in the first place? So being able to get hazards away for Chin-Pow, I thought was fantastic, and a great Psychic and Fairy type Pokemon. Very good offensively and defensively. And then we have Sneasler. I love Sneasler. I've had my very share of fun with this Pokemon. Being able to just play Dire Claw and then you have the chance to make the Pokemon to fall asleep, poison, or paralyze, kind of broken. And Dire Claw is fully allowed in this league.
Again, Will is just slapping broken Pokemon together. He's picking up Spectria now. Like, come on, man. You know, you gotta leave something for everybody else. But you know, like Will's team is just—it's going to be a tough one to prep for. There is just no defensive checks to this team at the moment. I can't see anything that switches in on all of these Pokemon. And then Danny picking up the Hisuian Electrode. This thing, I love Electrode. I had it last season in Unpl. This thing, just absolute monster. Really fast pivot, and it hits so hard with Leaf Storms and Giga Drains with its now Grass typing on top of that. So that's a really good pickup for Danny, giving him more momentum.
We got me here with the Ogerpon Wellspring, being able to Terra. This thing just seemed like a really fun Terra option, being able to Sword Stance, having good utility options, getting that special defense boost when it does Terra, so that does make it even better at setting up or taking those hits. And Alolan Muck, my personal favorite draft Pokemon, slapping an Assault Vest on this thing, basically taking any special hit, being able to throw off knocks-offs, especially in this kind of meta where very few Pokemon get knock-off, is so valuable. Poison Touch, being able to get those clutch poisons. It's just that such reliable glue Pokemon that can hold any one team together so well. I love it so much. I am this thing's #1 fan. I am this thing's supporter.
Ninetales over Torkoal. Smile. I think this Pokemon is gonna be okay. It's much faster, which is cool. It's got some cool new toys, kind of. Very good Pokemon in regards to being able to set up the sun for the Great Tusk and for the Walking Wake, which is actually really cool. And getting rid of those grass types for the Diancie is fantastic. So good pairing overall. But the Overquill going with thegrandmasterdrey. Overquill is going to be very good on the special side to soak up hits. Right now, there's not much synergy in regards to just coming in on ghost types for the Armarouge and then possibly coming in for a possible rain team for him. But this Pokemon is very good with Intimidate. Being able to set up is really nice, and just have Aqua Jet priority is actually really cool for the team.
So Jorge, again, with another more defensive pick, I think, with the way he's gone with this. He's got his Steel type now, he's picked up Jirachi, and honestly, with this team, I'm not looking forward to it, because every Thunder Waves, you kind of just start losing Pokemon to the rest of his team. So if he brings a Thunder Wave set with Jirachi, you just start sacking Pokemon. So then Misery's got Big Hooper Unbound. This thing just clicks buttons. There is not a whole lot that switches in. Base 160 attack and 170 special attack. You don't know what he's bringing. You don't know which way he's going. If he goes mixed with a Soul Vest, you just don't know what's coming, and it's just, this thing is just an absolute monster.
Alright, next up we got Scrub Supreme with the Skeledirge! Hey, the logo, let's go! Obviously, I love Skeledirge so much, being able to do so much defensively with that unaware ability, spread those Will-O-Wisps, hit hard with those Hexes. Torch Song is an amazing move, and you could run this thing offensively too. People forget about that 110 special attack stat. With those building up Torch Songs, it can hit incredibly hard with amazing Fire plus Ghost Stab coverage. And now we got Mimikyu here on the side of Rupee, that fairy Pokemon, setting up Sword Stances, obviously with its Shadow Claw, Play Rough, gets Woodhammer for some reason. I don't know why it gets Woodhammer. I figured that out recently, but a good sweeper all around.
Gets Woodhammer because he's the GOAT. Shout out to Ruppy. So now we have Dragon and Moltres. I'm just saying, give a fucking chipper team, you would lose to Mimikyu instantaneously. We have Hydreigon that got some pretty cool moves that got knockoff. That was actually kind of nice, having a more viability to his Dragon Dance set, so which is actually really cool. And Rocks, knockoff Rocks utility Hydreigon. That's actually kind of gas. And then we have Moltres here, the Fire and Flying type, which is really cool. Being able to come in and soak up hits with access to heavy duty boots. Unlike other generations, doesn't have to take 50%. It does become knockoff bait, but having an opportunity to punish the knockoff with Flame Body is actually kind of gas. Very good defensive piece for this team. Very balanced, and I like it a lot.
And we got the Iron Leaves coming in for Emerald Miner. So he's going for the double Psychic Core, but I really like Iron Leaves here because it gives him a different sort of offense to what the Mew could be. Because this thing just hits so hard with Leaf Blade and Psycho Blade. Like, this thing just, especially with Booster Energy, if you run Booster Speed plus a Sword Stance sort of set, this thing kind of just snowballs in late game if you get chipped. Then we've got the Iron Hands for Onesie Burnett, another more defensive but still offensive pick, because this thing just naturally so fat and hits so hard that you barely need to invest in attack half the time, especially if you run stuff like Sword Stance or Belly Drum. This thing is just an absolute monster.
Speaking of Belly Drum, there's Big Snorlax right there, being able to run any kind of Belly Drum set, any kind of Curse set. I think Curse is basically this thing's signature move at this point. I feel like most of the time you see Curse Snorlax, but obviously has a lot more options under its belt, being able to run Assault Vest, being able to abuse that Gluttony ability with any berry that it wants. Just a really fat Pokemon that is very consistent overall. And we got Sylveon here, a really nice fairy type addition to this team. Dapper Snapper, Pixelate, being able to just blast off those Pixelate boosted Hyper Voices. Does it get Mystical Fire this generation?
No,
I'm honestly not sure.
No, it lost it.
Yeah, that sucks, but still a good Pokemon overall.
And then we have Galarian Articuno, which is actually going to be the Terra Captain for the Seattle Sigilyph. It's one of the Terra Captains for him, which is actually a very good Terra Captain. Toxtricity is the other one, so this is the second of the Terra. It's got Flying, Fighting, and Steel. Very good Pokemon for Terra-wise. Otherwise, it's kind of mid, but being able to have access to Terra into a Fighting type is actually cool for the Steel types. And then we have Mamoswine. Big Daddy Chill is back, dude. This Pokemon is so freaking good. Another mon that should have gone round 2, but very good offensively. Ground and Ice, so good. Just spamming Icicle Crashes into Earthquakes and having access to Ice Shard for priority and being able to set up Stealth Rock. Very good Pokemon. Very surprised it went this late.
So we got Shadow Ace picking up the offensive threat of Iron Moth. This thing, alongside his physical threats, this thing is just going to... He can chip the team so easily with that Semirot. Being able to just spam spikes to then try and clean up with the Iron Moth once the team is weakened down. That's going to be really hard to deal with. And then we've got the Roaring Moon. This thing getting access to knockoff now is just such a big buff for it, because if you run Scuff, that is a free knockoff, because there is not a whole lot that's outspeeding that base 119 speed tier unless they're running Scuff. So this thing just being able to knock items, super good utility for the team.
Those two were round 5 picks, by the way. That's insane to me. But next up we got here is Sunak with Noivern. I'm honestly a really big fan of Noivern, an amazing speed stat. Frisk is honestly just a really good ability in draft, being able to scout that item. Clicking U-turns, clicking Draco Meteors, clicking Flamethrowers, scouting items. I think Noivern is just that really consistent Pokemon that not a lot of people think about, but when they face it, they think about it a lot more. And what we got here is a Jolteon paired up with Corviknight, dude, just like Volt Switch, U-turn into that Chi-Yu, being able to get it in even more free, an amazing speed stat, being able to hit hard with those Thunderbolts. Just a really good Pokemon. Volt Absorb isn't a bad ability either, being able to heal yourself. Switching into an electric type move is very useful for it. And I really respect the pickup. This seems very threatening.
And that's the Terra Captain too, a very good Jolteon pick. I like it a lot. Very fast offensive Pokemon. And I took Goodra, man. I think that Goodra, honestly, like non-biased, I took Goodra everywhere. I personally think that Goodra was the #1 winner of the DLC. Having access to Toxic, Scald, and Knockoff, and being so fat with the base 150 special defense stat, this Pokemon literally comes in, soaks up any hit, and gets rid of your item. It can Toxic you. It has access to Hydration to be able to remove its own status, so I can just literally proc open Rain Dance and just boost the rest of the team, which is actually really nice. So I think that Goodra was the #1 winner, and I had to swoop it up. Very good sponge. Then we have Basky Legion. Rain Smile, this Pokemon, very strong. Water and Ghost has access to Poltergeist now, very threatening offensive threat.
So now we have the hazards and the hazard removal for Will with his Fortress. It's about time that he got something that could actually remove hazards reliably, because he was very weak to just being forced to switch in on rocks and spikes and all that kind of stuff. So T-Spikes was really strong versus Will until now, but he's still, honestly, he's still pretty weak. Fortress isn't the most reliable removal in every matchup. And then Denny getting big as this thing being able to be defensive water or offensive water, as well as a defensive or offensive fairy with huge power or sap sipper or thick fat. Just an all-around good utility Pokemon.
And there we go, we see the Fortress again on my side, just a really good spinner, being able to spin off any kind of hazards while also having options to hit honestly decently hard, like Gyro Ball and such. Overcoat, sturdy, not bad abilities whatsoever, can come in clutch in the right scenarios. And we got Cyclosaurs here on Kurt's side. Such a good utility mod, knockoff, U-turn, surprising coverage and things like it being a dragon type, being able to overheat. Shift gear sets are honestly viable, Regenerator is so good. Shed Skin is a decent ability too. It's just that utility Pokemon that can do so much for you. Spin as well, just a hazard remover as well. It's that utility Pokemon that everybody wants.
I literally heard a rumor that Politoed got flip turn, lost my mind, and then I got the DLC, then got really sad. Politoed is a fantastic Pokemon that has access to rain, Drizzle, being able to set up the rain for the team, which makes sense now. There's the Overquill plus the rain boosted Walking Wake. Non-sun?
Yeah, I mean, it's
very interesting. Cool scene.
Scary in rain.
She's trying to boost the flip turn. You'll love to see it. Very good Pokemon. Vikable did lose Roost, which is actually kind of unfortunate. I've been seeing people saying that, like, oh, it still has Roost. It does not. It lost it, which is really sad, because I was also thinking about getting this Pokemon too. Very good Pokemon. Having access to only one, having access to Levitate is a really good mon for an electric type.
Yeah, definitely. And then we have Jorge picking up Hisuian Arcanine. This one hurt, because this is the round I was picking up Hisuian Arcanine, and he took the Arcanine from under me. And that one hurt. So, unfortunately, I don't get it, but Arcanine is insane with Rockhead, Head Smash, and Flare Blitz. This thing just hits so hard, as well as Intimidate for a more defensive set. Then Misery picking up the Ditto. He's trying to stop himself getting reverse swept by random Pokemon. So Ditto is just that underrated Pokemon that you slap a Scarf on that thing with Imposter, it's just oof. Things are monster to deal with in draft.
Alright, we got Scrub Supreme here with the Gudra. God, this team is so fat. Look at this Clefable, Blight Score, Empoleon, Skeletor's Gudra. Jesus Christ,
special.
how is... Damn, dude, like, this team is going to be eating hits for days. Gudra obviously notorious
Plus
for its
Jimbo.
special tanking abilities. Like, oh my god, this thing, oh my, I do not want to face this. And we got Rupee here with Dragalge. I really like Dragalge, being able to hit so hard with adaptability, Draco Meteor, Sludge Waves. It gets flip turn now, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
flip turn, yeah.
Yeah, so now it has
Flip turn and
momentum
Scald.
too, like... Oh my, it got Scald too? Yo, don't sleep on this man. Don't sleep on him.
Also, you guys Mimikyu, so highlight. And then, so we have Delphox and Scizor coming. So Scizor, fantastic mon. I really wanted it to get Roost back, but that's not a thing anymore, unfortunately. But being able to just set up with Swords Dance, having priority and Bullet Punch, very good. Steel type Pokemon that only has one weakness, which is actually kind of clutch. Very good
only one
offensive
weakness.
threat. Very good special sponge. It's a pretty good fit here to help get rid of those fairy types and also get rid of those grass types. A lot of the stuff it does roll compress with Moltres, which is an interesting take here. And then we have Delphox. Delphox is actually a Terra Captain for the Heracross. I think this is Fire, Psychic, and Fairy is going to be his Terra type captain. So Delphox, very good Pokemon.
Very good Pokemon. And again, another snipe in the same round. I wanted Arcanine into the Noivern, so I just got absolutely screwed in this round. This one sucked, but Noivern, yeah, again, such a great utility mon. Just being able to scout the items for your team, so you know if you've got, like, say, a Scarf on the Garchomp, or if it's like a defensive Pokemon, you know if it's running a Weakness Berry. It just gives you a lot of information. This Pokemon is so nice for information. Then we have the Bronzong, just your classic fat steel that sits there, clicks rocks, does whatever the hell it wants. And this thing, being able to Trick Room with the Iron Hands as a potential strategy you can go makes that team even scarier.
Alright, we got Just Lucas with the Ogerpon Fire. This thing was banned, as mentioned before, yesterday. Though that was with Terra, this thing does not have Terra this time, so you do not have to worry about that. But that does not mean this thing isn't a threat, still having access to Sword Stance. Having Mold Breaker to deal with unaware Pokemon, yet another amazing addition to this Veil team. You think you can switch in your unaware Pokemon to something like Manaphy or something. Ogerpon comes in, bam, no more, +2 Sword Stance, it's done. Vigavolt, for Dapper Snappers, being able to set up those sticky webs. Sticky webs is always really nice. I guess it's for like Goldango, I guess, like Choice Specs Goldango really helps that a lot.
It's also a Terra Captain too, the Vikavolt Electric and Ice and Ground for that Terra Cap, which is pretty cool. Then we have Bronzong and Screamtail. Screamtail's a pretty cool Pokemon. Doesn't do anything offensively, but very good defensively. Being able to set up screens for things like Sword Dance Mammo is actually kind of gross. Having access to Stealth Rock is really good for the team because right now the Stealth Rocker is Mamoswine and Heatran. Heatran can run it, but doesn't always want to, so being able to take that pressure off is really, really nice. And then we have Bronzong. Very good, very reliable Steel type. I need a Steel type, whatever. Let's just grab Bronzong later on the round. This Pokemon is a very good reliable piece, having access to Levitate and Heat Proof, which is really nice. It's an interesting pairing here. There's not much synergy. I see a lot of fat. Kind of hard to get things in, but I'm curious to see how he taps off that draft.
So we've got Altaria here. This is a Terra Altaria, and being able to do like Terra Steel Altaria on top of Dragon Dance sets, meaning that you can't click the Moonblast and suddenly you get Terra Blasted with a Terra Steel, makes this Pokemon a lot scarier. It's still relatively weak. It's not the most amazing Pokemon. And then we have the Rain on the side of Arsenal. So interesting that he didn't go the Sun route with the Roaring Moon. But you know, Rain is still absolutely terrifying in this metagame, and this team has a lot of threats because like this is a Rain boosted Iron Bundle now, so those Hydros are going to hurt.
They are. You gotta hit them, but they gotta hurt.
True. We got Sunak here with Galarian Wheezing. Honestly, neutralizing gas is so much more valuable in this generation. You can switch into Qianpao. Let's go! You have your Qianpao switches. Having really good defensive qualities. You have Will-O-Wisp. Honestly, Poison Fairy is really good coverage. On top of that, Flamethrower, you're going to be hitting a lot of things surprisingly hard, honestly. Levitate's also really good. Honestly, this thing doesn't have a bad ability. You can run it however you want, and it's going to work wonders for you. Milotic here gets Scald, awesome for it. Flip Turn, just so annoying, being able to eat anything once. Competitive, really good. Marble Scale, slap a Flame Orb on it. Now it's impossible to kill defensively as well, especially defensively.
Yeah, very threatened. So Milotic in the meta with Manaphy is actually kind of nuts that it went this late. And speaking of bulky water types, I take Alamomola. Very good physically defensive Pokemon. I needed a way to get in my threats, dude. I don't got very good ones. I got Lando and that's it. Overpon does have a U-turn, which is actually kind of nuts. I didn't know that after the draft. Low key, did not know they got U-turn. Someone told me, I was like, fire. But this Pokemon being able to have a little bit more utility to make it a little bit less bad is very cool. It has Scald, it has Flip Turn, so now I just can't get taunted and stuck in there with Baton Pass, which is great. So being able to wish up things like my Gudra is fantastic. Things like Heatran, like Lando, Wish is really nice in this team. And then Florges. Florges is a very good Pokemon, very spongy fairy type that really sits on this team well.
Yeah, and then Will getting the Kilowattrel, an interesting pick. I'm not so sold on Kilowattrel on this team. Not a whole lot of removal going here, so it's forced to run Boots a lot. I mean, it is a nice electric immunity to pair with the Manaphy and to absorb those T-Waves. So I can see the value. And then we have the Terra Ambipom from Denny. This thing is going to be scary with Technician boosted Terra normal fake outs. This thing is going to at least get one kill. I can already see Denny trying to make this a kill leader because it's Denny's favorite Pokemon. This is young Monkey Pod.
We got another Kilowattrel on the screen here. I'm picking it up primarily due to the fact that it has an amazing speed stat. I want something a bit faster. Obviously, Iron Moth and Wellspring are fast Pokemon, but I want something with just that bit more of speed. Having Volt Switch really good, being able to bring in threats like Iron Moth, Excalibur very easily. It's just, Kilowattrel is that Pokemon that you can rely on when you want that offensive momentum. And then we got Tinkaton on the side of Kurt, being able to set up rocks, being able to U-turn, that big ass hammer, that Gigaton hammer, being able to slap anything for some pretty big damage. It can run Sword Stance, so good luck with that with base 75 attack. So most of the time you're going to be seeing this with utility.
Alright, I'm the Gudra man this time. So we have another Gudra Hisui going on. This is a Steel and Dragon type. Very good defensive typing. It still has some solid offensive prowess. It has some very good setup options, which is really, really nice. I like the Gudra as a big glue piece here. I'm developing a little bit of a fighting problem here. We have fighting types kind of look free against this team because Armor doesn't want to come in often. So that's going to be something that's got to patch up later. And then we have the Victory Bell, which is actually a very underrated Sunsweeper, randomly enough.
Yeah, definitely.
Grass and Poison type Pokemon having access to the Sun with that Ninetales is actually kind of gas. The Victory Bell coming in here is actually going to be very good offensively to get rid of those fairy types for Walking Wake as well, which is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, that Victory Bell is going to be an absolute threat on the Sun. Jorge picking up the Sinistra. I'm not so sure what this thing does on this team for him. I mean, it's a bulky, it's a physically defensive grass for him at least. So he now has a ground switch in because at the moment his ground switch in was Slitherwing, and he doesn't want to keep bringing that in constantly. So what do you do there? And then we have the Blaze Tauros from Misery, and he's now got that Intimidate to try and help. He's racking up a bit of a ground weakness with his only immunity being the Corviknight, so hopefully he can patch that up soon.
Sinister sucks. Anyways, Mienshao. Mienshao's really good with Regenerator, Reckless, two amazing abilities on such an offensive Pokemon. U-turn out, high jump kicks everywhere, decent coverage moves, being able to hit fairy types with that poison jab. I really, really like Mienshao. I was actually kind of looking at it a little bit because this thing really is just such a really good Pokemon that hits so much harder than you can prep for, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Scrub use it, getting another U-turner out there. And we got Rupee here with Serena. It's got that Rapid Spin, Power Whip, Play Rough with decent coverage, Queenly Majesty, being able to block priority moves is always really nice.
And then we have Gengar here with the Zapdos. It's funny that Gengar's, the last time, I didn't post this, but last time I was in a draft league, I was actually in semifinals, and this man knocked me out, and I have to talk about his team. This is so sad. So Zapdos going on this team is actually really, really nice. Zapdos, as we talked about before, very good bulky Pokemon, can be very good offensively, still has access to that very powerful Hurricane. Didn't lose anything, so it's very good and does what it needs to do for this team, and actually pairs really well with Rillaboom. And then we have the Hisuian Zoroark, which I hate this Pokemon. Shout out to Amol. I hate this one. Very good, very hard to play against. Having access to the normal and ghost typing, this team's actually kind of gross. Being able to be like, hey, I'm Samurai, psych, I'm Hisuian Zoroark, or if it's like coming in on Komo, very, very, very annoying.
Yeah, that's definitely a very annoying team. Glad it's in the other division. Emerald Miner picking up the Bishop. This is a really nice, bulky Dark now with the Eviolite. It's actually underratedly bulky. Like, with base 100 defense, it can actually take physical hits a lot better than it used to. So it's now able to take an Earthquake and Sword Stance in your face before it Sucker Punches you. And then we have the Cyclizar on Onesi's team. Yeah, so like Flygon said earlier, this thing, such a great utility mon, being able to knock the random boots that things might want to come in as it's trying to clear hazards, all that kind of stuff. Just a great utility mon.
Why am I seeing a round 7 Dragonite? What am I looking at? Let's focus on the Didalji first. Adaptability, as said before, being able to hit very hard, flip turn, scald. You can now scald anything that wants to switch in on you. So let's say a physical attacker wants to try and switch in. Maybe it can take a Draco Meteor Well. Nope, burn it. No longer a problem. Why is Dragonite here? Why did this thing last until round 7? This thing is so good. It has so many setup opportunities, so much it can do coverage-wise. Multi-skill is one of the best abilities in the entire game. This is borderline robbery, in my opinion, the fact he was able to get away with this. I am very surprised it lasted this long.
And then we have Diancie and Flamigo. Diancie we kind of touched on before, but very good pairing with this team. It's you know, it's a fairy type. Very good. I want to see some more offensive threats on that team right now. It's just Palafin plus Ogerpon, so we'll see what he's able to do there. And then somewhat Toxtricity. But Flamigo, though, great Pokemon. Holy crap. Fighting and flying, very
underrated
offensive threat. I think it's very much so underrated. It's got all the tools it needs. It can be bulky. It can be offensively very threatening. And having access to pivot momentum is really cool. This Pokemon can really break your team. It has a base 115 attack stat, but don't let that fool you. This Pokemon can really run away with teams. And having access to the move that the ability that keeps his fighting type stats from getting hit for Scrappy. There it is, Scrappy. Very good mon.
Very good mon. And now Shadow is picking up the Aleki. This thing is such a fast offensive threat with Transistor, making that base 100 special attack and physical attack not that bad. Especially with access to like Wild Charge off the Transistor boost. There is not a whole lot of switch-ins if you're not a ground type, honestly. This thing, it forces you to bring a ground type. Thank God we Terra banned it, because I don't want to deal with Terra Ice Aleki. Then we have the Trevenant. This thing, getting access to Poltergeist this gen is so strong now. And again, Frisk to be able to scout and get the information on the enemy team.
Alright, we got Sunak with the Slitherwing. I love Slitherwing so much. It is so surprisingly bulky that whenever you try and knock it out, it just sponges hits so well. And then you start getting threatened because it can run like bulk up stuff. And you're just like, oh my god. Honestly, not bad typing either. I think Fighting Bug is like a typing that's a little bit underlooked in my opinion. Being able to close combats into U-turns really great. Covering that bug typing with fighting type coverage. And we got the Decidueye, which I think got Poltergeist, which is really cool.
Yeah, then we have Skuntank here. Dude, you either love him or you hate him. Fucking Skuntank, fantastic. They gave him a knockoff. Let's go, dude. This month's so good.
I didn't know that in the draft.
Yeah, it got access to knockoff as Toxic Spikes. The only thing it lost from Generation 8 was Defog, which is fine. Having access to set up T-Spikes, knockoff items, has access to physically offensive moves, things like Poison Jab, Crunch, knockoff now, things like Dark Pulse, Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, very good offensive threat. Then we have Politoed, which actually fits really well with things like Zapdos, which is great. We've got the Rillaboom here that's able to threaten opposing offensive water types, and then we have the Basky Legion. I think that Shadow Stitch is really starting to develop a very scary team.
Yeah, and Will, back at it again, picking up the broken Pokemon. Now it has Sneasler, like, come on, man. You're not leaving anything for anyone out here. But, no, Sneasler on this team, being able to absorb those Toxic Spikes that I was talking about before, meaning that Florges isn't forced to run stuff like Aromatherapy and that kind of thing, it just frees it up a little bit to run a more, like, based on Wish to Baton Pass into the Darkrai and the Garchomp to keep them healthy. Then Danny picking up Young Tink. Again, really good utility mon with that Steel Fairy typing only really being weak to 2 types. Such a good utility mon.
All right, you're seeing a Spiritomb on the screen, and you're just like, what is this? Why is the Spiritomb going this? Why is this not like a last round pick? I'll tell you, it gets Toxic and it gets Poltergeist. This thing can now Toxic Saw like it could in previous generations and hit really hard with Poltergeist, so stab, sucker punches. It's an offensive and defensive threat that I feel like not a lot of people are going to be ready for, especially with that infiltration. And we got more Pico, which, dude, I can't remember the last time I saw more Pico. Jesus Christ. But hey.
It's slept on, man.
Yeah, I guess so.
110. That's one of the big things that got going for it.
Yeah.
True. It's been so long I've seen it that like I'm looking forward to seeing what it does because
it's interesting. It's got Ice Fang now with Aura Wheel, Volt Switches. It is a pretty decent one. And then we have a Talonmaster taking at the Rabombi, and then we have Dustner over here for Ape Raider. Rabombi is a fairy type that is not very bulky. It's not bulky at all, but it is pretty offensively threatening. Having access to Quiver Dance, ironically enough, can actually be really annoying for teams in the late game. And also early game webs is interesting. And in the meta game with Boots, it's not the most incredibly threatening thing, but still has that option as well. And then Dustmore having access to Poltergeist again is really, really cool. It's a very good bulky Pokemon that's able to just block those hazards, which is great.
And speaking of bulky Pokemon, we've got Blissey. This thing is so specially fat, and I think this is a really, really good pickup for Jorge. It gives him a really nice special wall to take the Ice Beams, take the Moonblasts, all that kind of stuff that was going to be really threatening to his team. He now just has something that just absolutely sits on any special threat. And it can still be annoying because it gets stuff like Defense Curl, so if you really want to be clever, you can run Defense Curl Blissey. And then we have Misery with the Inteleon. With the high crit chance stab snipe shot, that's really, really scary on top of Sniper, and if you run like Scope Lens, that thing can just crit through a team and become a really, really scary mon late game.
We got Scrub here with the Sand Slash. I really do like Sand Slash. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I like being able to, I just want to see those Sword Stance, those Earthquakes, those Rock Slides. Listen, it isn't the best Pokemon in the world, but I kind of like it, and I'm really interested in seeing how Scrub uses it, because I feel like he could get a lot of value out of it. Gets Rapid Spin too, by the way. Sneasel, one of my all-time lower tier pick favorites. Obviously, it doesn't get... I mean, does it get knockoff with DLC?
It does, yeah.
Dude, let's
Become a
go.
lot better
That's
again.
so big. That's so good. Being able to Sword Stance, Icicle Crash, knockoff. It's just as big of a threat as it used to be, and I promise you it's going to put in a lot more work than you think it will.
And then we got Big Mamo, Daddy Chill going finally to the Gengar. Freaking great Pokemon, great pairing on this team. It's gonna be maybe forced to run high horsepower a couple weeks, but it does have access to it, which is cool. Electros, oh man, I am a big Electros fan. Having no weaknesses in the Levitate ability on the Electro typing is actually really cool. It's an interesting pairing here. It's a good bulky pivot, being able to get things in like the Komodo. I do want to see a little bit more pivot action here. He does have actually a lot. Now that I take that back, he has a lot of U-turn options.
Yeah, no, he has a fair bit.
Yeah, so now he's able to get that Iron Valiant in a little bit more often, which is actually really cool. But Electros has fantastic coverage, and having access to things like Liquidation this gen is actually really good for it.
Well, let's just continue on with Electros here. This thing, like, being able to even just like slap an Assault Vest on it, like this thing just becomes so ungodly bulky and so annoying, with access to Giga Drain as well, so it can hit those ground types that might try and use Smackdown to give it a weakness. That's about the only way you're going to get it, with Gravity or Smackdown. And then once with the Yanmega, this thing, pretty controversial about Terra with Tinted Lens. Like, Terra Tinted Lens Bug Buzz is an absolute threat on any team, as well as being able to speed boost. And this thing can clean up late games if you're not if you don't prep for it properly.
We got Just Lucas with the Thunderous T going this late. Pretty surprising in my opinion, because I think Thunderous T is still such a massively threatening Pokemon. Obviously it doesn't have access to Terra, which I think in my opinion makes it 10 times better. But even then, you still have those nasty plot boosted Thunderbolts, Focus Blasts, Sludge Bombs, really being able to just threaten big damage on your opponent while having a really good ability in Volt Absorb, negating that flying type, adding that neutrality to, you know. And then Samurott, base Samurott, that's still my boy. I still really like base Samurott. Sword Stance, both physical and special attacker. Not the worst bulk in the world either. I think he could get a lot of value out of it.
Komodo doesn't have Terra on this team, but is actually really good. It's still able to be very threatening offensively. You can still use Claimer Soul to build the Omni boost at the cost of 33% of its health. Been a very good rocker, very good glue piece to this team. I like this fit here more so often. It's a very good, I think that he really kind of capped this off at the very end. And then we have Magnezone here. Being able to trap steel types is actually really nice, not having to put that onto Heatran. And not all, Mammal Stone's not going to want to come on all steel types, which is really good. Also, fairy types are really big problem for this team. So I do like the fact that I can eliminate those bulky water types, those bulky fairy types, and Magnezone just is able to help this Pokemon, this team offensively just thrive.
And a really good defensive pivot for Shadow Ace, being the Amoonguss here. I think a little late, maybe, for a mon like this, but still really nice with that regen. So he now has a regen core of Gloaking Amoonguss. A little psychic weak. His only real switch into psychic type attacks at the moment is the Hammerot. So hopefully he can patch that up, because otherwise he's going to really struggle with an offensive psychic type coming in and just sort of clicking buttons. Then we have the Electric Terrain with Arsenal. So he now has Rain plus Electric Terrain with Bundle. This is just an absolute threatening team. Like this is terrifying.
We got Sunak here with Jolteon. Jolteon, that amazing speed stat, being able to Volt Switch, offers so much momentum for your team. Thunderbolts, this thing is a Terra threat. Yeah, just Jolteon doing typical Jolteon things that it's done for so many generations. And we got Komala here. And dude, honestly, I really like Komala. I think it has such a unique ability, always being drowsy, can't get status. Rapid Spin's pretty good on it, and it attacks surprisingly hard. Like, you'd be surprised, like, you take a return, not return, that thing's gone, body slam from it, and you're just like, damn, this hit kind of different, so, you know.
Give it last resort. Just give it back. Just give it back.
Just give it back.
And now we have my Terra Captain is Staraptor. So Staraptor and Goodra. I didn't mention Goodra's my other Terra Captain. Terra Water, fucking nuts. And now we have Staraptor. I wanted an offensive Terra Captain that still has viability, so we have both of my Terra options being able to come each and every week. It's got normal flying fighting. Switching into a reckless boosted Terra Normal Double Edge from a Staraptor at base 100 speed. And I think this Pokemon is going to be really nuts. And then we have Dunsparce, the inferior normal type. I'm just kidding. Very good bulky normal type. Having access to Eviolite to build the Soko Pits is cool. Spreading Glares is nice, and setting up Stealth Rock and having Roost is really nice as well.
And here comes the downfall of Will's team. He drafted so many top-heavy mons. He's got to pick up mons like Carkol. I mean, this thing's a good spinner. It can check things in a sense, but it's not amazing. It's only really good as a fire switch in, but you gotta hope that they're not carrying random ground coverage or water coverage. And then Danny picking up young Aloe. So he's following in D.Rey's footsteps here with the fat water that can wish and flip turn while not having to worry about getting taunted anymore. So we love Aloe. I think it's got a whole lot better being given flip turn and knock and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure. I'm picking up the Halucha here. It doesn't exactly sync up, because I really like Halucha with like terrain teams or anything like that, where I can immediately proc that Unburden. But solo Halucha isn't bad either, being able to have proc its Unburden in its own ways, substituting down to like some kind of berry, or using close combat with I think it's Mental Herb, I can't remember exactly, or White Herb. It's White Herb, I think, but yeah, hits pretty hard. And then we got Ursaring here on the side of Kurt. Having access to Eviolite now makes it so much bulkier, makes it gives it so much more setup opportunities. Big threat.
Hoopa. I think Hoopa is a Terra Captain. This is a Terra Captain for thegrandmasterdrey. Very good. 150 base special attack. Send tweet. Very good offensive Pokemon. I feel like the typing is kind of what held it back, and being able to Terastallize and things like a fairy type, with being able to just hit super hard with Terra Blast on those dark types is actually really nuts. And then we have Bisharp, and Bisharp is one of those Pokemon that I think that also went very underrated in this generation. Having access to Eviolite is really nice. It has comparable bulk to King Gambit, and King Gambit can run other items for sure, but Bisharp being able to come in, chew up a hit, get a Thunder Wave off, get a Swords Dance off, being able to, it doesn't knock off items anymore, which is unfortunate, but can set up rocks. So very good steel type.
We have young Pikachu coming out for Jorge. You know, I'm curious to see what he does with this Pikachu. Being a Terra Pikachu, this thing is going to hit very hard with Light Ball Thunderbolts. So So this thing it's still going to be an offensive threat. So we'll see how he plays this Pikachu. It pairs well with the rest of his team. Then we have young Toedscruel for Misery. He finally has a secondary ground resist. So he's not so ground weak anymore. He has something that can switch into ground types. And Toedscruel being able to just, you know, slow Spore and stuff like that so it can take the hit and Spore and not waste that sleep turn is an absolutely massive pickup for him.
And real quick, I do want to mention, just for emphasis notice, I know people know this, if you know, fun fact, that Pikachu's Thunderbolt is stronger than Thundurus Therian's Thunderbolt. Yeah, crazy.
There you go. Sinistcha, I'm sure he can do a lot of cool things with it. I'm not the biggest fan of this Pokemon. I think it does nothing. But 121 special attack does hit pretty goddamn hard. Rupee with Meloetta, that is one of his Terra Captains. And I think Meloetta is one of the best Terra Captains you can get out there. So many setup options, so many creative things you can do with Meloetta. I really like the Terra pickup on Meloetta because I think it does a lot for him.
And then next we have is Gengar picking up Mismagius, and then we have Avalugg going for JB Westside. Avalugg is a pretty decent Pokemon. I'm actually going to check something real quick. I want to see if he has this as a Terra Captain, because if it is, this Pokemon is very, very good. Very good defensive Pokemon, having access to Rapid Spin. It's a Rapid Spinner. That's it. Mismagius is also strong ball, which is interesting. Very more offensive than the other Avalugg. And then Mismagius is a very good glue piece. I think this is a great ghost type Pokemon. Having access to Levitate is really nice to switch into those ground types. Spread Will-O-Wisps, being able to block spin, which is really nice, and a good base 105 speed tier actually really helps a lot. And it's very good offensively. 105 special attack, nothing to scoff at. Very good ghost type.
Emerald Miner picking up that Typhlosion Hisui, following with the ghost type trend. I think Hisui and Typhlosion is really, really cool. Shame that it loses Flash Fire as its HA, getting Frisk. But I mean, it's still really nice. It's a really good Scarfer with Eruption, Shadow Balls. It just hits really hard off that base 110 special attack. There's nothing to scoff at, especially with Eruption being super, super strong. And here we have young Grottle for 1Z Bennett. This thing can Terra, this thing can Shell Smash. This thing, I think, is very underrated. Being able to Shell Smash and Terra, meaning that it can have stab Stone Edges on top of the Shell Smash at +2. Very, very threatening for a low tier mon.
We got Just Lucas with the Terra Metacham. You think you can switch into CC? You think you can switch into CC? Alright, try Terra Fighting CC. This thing is going to go cuckoo crazy. Probably gonna be one of the hardest hitting Terra Captains. Wouldn't be surprised if it gets Kill Leader in terms of all the Terra Captains. Not the best speed stat, but it's good enough to where it can break all these slower Pokemon. And Brambleghast now gets access to Poltergeist, which I think makes it so much better. Now getting still has Rapid Spin and all that stuff. I think this Pokemon is a huge upgrade from where it was before, and I'm really excited to see what Dapper does with it, because it getting Poltergeist, in my opinion, is such a huge deal.
And then we have Dunsparce again. Can you a little bit more? Dunsparce is actually a really good Pokemon to just sponge hits. It's a very good ghost switch in, which right now was falling on Mandibuzz, which is interesting. And then also the main hit for ghost types is Shadow Ball, so you can theoretically bring in that Komodo. But this is a cool little glue piece. It's also very low costing Pokemon, so it's really nice to soak up those points and be able to add value to your team. Komala, like Flagon was talking about before, is one of those Pokemon that can be very offensive. Ironically enough, having access to things like Woodhammer, ironically, is crazy. Play Rough is nice for coverage. It gets good coverage with base 115 attack. I feel like because he's tiny, everyone forgets that he is mighty. So we'll see if he's able to use any kind of offensive prowess to it.
Yeah. And here we have the Terra Charizard. This thing, disgusting with Terra. I think what types did he go with this again? I think he had Terra Fairy and Water on top of the. Yeah, he didn't do Dragon, but I mean still, Water and Fairy as defensive Terra typings, really, really strong for Zard, making its Fire Blast hit so much harder. And then we have the Copperajah, again, another Terra Captain, a really nice, like, sort of bulky Steel type. And him giving it the Steel, Ground, and Ghost typing means that it can now be a fighting immunity that still hits really, really hard with Heavy Metal and Sheer Force.
Yeah, alright, next up we got here is the Terra Mismagius. I really like Terra Mismagius. I don't remember what Terra types he has on it, but just the concept of it, being able to abuse that Levitate ability with any typing in the game is really nice. Nasty Plot setup, Calm Mind setup. Oh, I love that. Yep, that electric typing. Stab Thunderbolts, being able to levitate off of those earthquakes. Really nice. Regidrago better this generation because now it has access to things that it can hit steel types with. Earthquake, let's go. Making Dragon Dance more viable. Obviously, Dragon Energy still being that nuke that you want to watch out for if your Pokemon is slower than the Regidrago.
And then we got Girder. Big Vainster, baby. Vainster is out here.
We love Vainster.
This Pokemon is so good. This
Love
is my.
to see
This
it.
is. I thought to myself, dang, I need a defogger, bro. Who's the best defogger in the fucking game? Girder, baby. Let's go. So Girder can just swing his fucking stick around and get rid of hazards, and I love it. Having access to Gust and Guts, having a Pokemon to absorb status is really nice and be very offensive, which is great. Having access to Eviolite is also great. Ariados, we have webs. And more webs.
Yeah, webs
and then we
is
have
really
Toxic
nice on
Spikes.
it.
I mean, it could be good. I think I got a couple other things, but most of this Pokemon is probably going to be a lead to be able to threaten things for the Darkrai, which is going to be annoying, so run your boots.
And we have the grassy terrain paired with the Chomp, meaning that it's forced to run more like Stomping Tantrum and High Horsepower and stuff like that, so losing Earthquake if he does end up bringing the Thwacky kinda sucks. But it's also really nice for passive recovery. It pairs well with the Sneasler, because now he has a way to immediately proc that Unburden. He doesn't have to try and click a close combat on a Predict and hope that they don't go into a Ghost type. So that's not too bad. Thwacky really just like gluing this team together. And then Danny picking up the Hooper can find. Again, 150 special attack, send tweet. That's all we need to say about that thing. This thing being just so threatening to so many teams. And if I remember correctly, yeah, Danny terrored this as well, so again, being able to terror into the fairy typing.
Speaking of Terra types, this will be my second Terra type in Espeon. I got Terra Espeon, which in my opinion, Espeon was valued really low. I think it was like 5-6 points, I think. And for a Terra Captain, that's really low considering how many options Espeon has, how good Magic Bounce is. I think this thing's going to be a really big threat. And Spidops, people are going to sleep on Spidops, call it bad. It does get knockoff with this new DLC coming out, so that gives it another option as a lead. Listen, it gives it something other than sticky webs. So you want to switch into it, fine. You get your item knocked off. So I think that's a nice addition of Spidops, something that was honestly needed for it. Don't sleep on him.
I feel like everyone forgot about Gastrodon. Like, they gave him spikes. Like, what the hell? This Pokemon is very good. It has spikes and stealth proc. This Pokemon literally comes in, soaks up water type attacks, which is actually really nice to be an anti-watermon when it has rain here, which is really good. Gastrodon is a very good sponge. Base 111 HP is very fat, and it's very good offensively too. It can be physical, it could be special. And then we have Tauros, which I think Tauros may actually be a Terra Captain if I remember correctly, but Tauros is a very good offensive normal type with base 110 speed. Really patches up his speed tier nicely. It's a little bit faster than Walking Wake to get those 109s and creep those 108s, which is really cool. But Tauros is very good as an intimidating bulky Pokemon too, with very good special coverage.
So I just had a look. Tauros is not a Terra Captain for him. But we've got young Avalugg coming in here. I really like this as a remover because honestly his removal was not that great. So Avalugg being his only removal kind of forces it into a single roll, so he's going to struggle there a little bit, but it's not too bad. I do like Avalugg. He is the table. We love the table. Then Misery getting that Intimidate and the webs with Masquerain. This thing is an underrated Pokemon, I think. Like, this thing just hits so hard if you can get Equipidance off. Base 100 special attack is nothing to scoff at. It's just as strong as Jirachi, especially.
Alright, well, we got Scrub here with the Squawkle Belly. Squawkabilly? I don't know how to say these things, man. three really good abilities on this guy, hitting really hard. Hustle, primarily going to be the one you see. Brave Birds, Double Edges, I think it learns. This is a surprising threat that you usually don't expect, but when you're building, you're just like, oh wow. And then obviously we got Rupee here with the Ditto, Imposter, Choice Scarf stuff. Obviously you got to be good against hyper offensive teams, being able to cover that pretty well. So in case there's a matchup that seems a little bit overwhelming, Ditto's got him covered.
And sorry to cut in here, D.Rey, but Squawkabilly gets Guts as well on one of its other forms, so that's another big threatening ability.
And then we have Wigglytuff, which is a very low tier Pokemon that's very good to help bring a team together. Bulky normal and bulky ghost type. No, fairy type is really nice for this one. Having I don't know. He looks like a and then he has Stealth Block, which is actually really nice. It's a good sponge, has Wish, a very fat Wishes, which is cool. Then Reverum got, dude, listen, Linda. High horsepower on Reverum is fantastic. Having access to
Such a nice
ship
addition.
gear and all the coverage that it needs. If you're not careful, a base 119 attack River Room will run your team, and I want it to happen at least once. Not to me, but just to someone else. That'd be funny.
To someone, yeah, it'd be funny. We got the Glaceon for Emerald Miner. This thing is honestly, I think they might have skipped one here. So I think he's meant to have Toedscruel on this one. But anyway, he's got Glaceon and Toedscruel, so we'll just talk about it both. Really good pickups for his team. He now has an electric immunity, as well as a really nice offensive ice type. It's not so much defensive, I mean physically defensive, yeah, but you don't really want to be switching in on the physical attackers because they generally have coverage for ice types. So he's trying to patch up their weaknesses in a sense. Palisand for onesie, a really nice electric immunity, and a really nice fat ghost type.
I'm back. Someone knocked on my door. Bombardier. Just Lucas picking up the Bombardier. I think Rocky Payload is a really cool ability. Flying Dark is a pretty cool typing in my opinion. We've seen other Pokemon use in the past, like Mandibuzz, but Bombardier is more offensive, being able to use that pretty well. With U-Turn, I like it a lot. And we got Flareon from Dapper Snapper. Guts boosted, Flare blitzes, facades, being able to do all of that. If this is a Terra Captain, those Terra normals are gonna hit very, very hard. It's gonna be
a lot to deal with, yeah.
Yeah. Just such
you got what it needed in just simply having Terra. Now listen, Glimmet. Okay, so I here, ready? Glimmet, Toedscruel. Fantastic 1-point Pokemon that add immense value to your team. Glimmet's one of those Pokemon that only needs to come in and get one move off, and that one move is a hazard, and then in 2 hits it gets 3 hazards, which is actually really, really nice. Glimmet's a fantastic suicide lead for this team that really appreciates hazards. And on the other side with Donphan for Dashing Sceptile, it's a good rapid spinner, top 3 rapid spinner right now in the format. This Pokemon literally can come in and be an offensive threat, has fantastic coverage, knockoff, ice shard, play rough. If it got things like close combat, that'd be kind of busted, but very good defensive piece.
Here we have the Murkrow for Shadow Ace as well. This is a really nice budget dark type that can do a lot of different things. It can set up Rain for his Aleki to spam thunders. It can set up the Sun for his Great Tusk to have photosynthesis. With its Prankster, it's a nice defogger, just as long as you don't try and click defog on a dark type. So it's just got a lot of utility that I think could be useful, as well as Haze to stop sweepers from setting up and just clicking buttons. Then we have the Carbink on Arsenal. I really like Carbink. I love this Pokemon unironically because it's just such a fat rock fairy type and very few weaknesses.
Alright, we got Ursaring on the side of Sunac here. What's wrong with Ursaring?
I feel like, dude, I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like Ursaring's just so good, and I don't understand why it's just going so late. It's just so good.
He goes so late. Yeah, he is, straight up. Eviolite makes it so much of a better Pokemon. Really good abilities, too. And speaking of good Pokemon, Screamtail, seeing it go this late, too, insane to me. One of the best utility Pokemon in draft, in my opinion. It going this late, just a really, really good value pick that adds a lot to his team. I really like Screamtail.
And does like the rest talk sets, it's just so fantastic. We have a little bit of a pause here, but I just want to talk about, I feel like this, for me, I wanted to fit one of my goals, one of my few there's a small list of mons that I wanted to try. On paper, Ursaring just looks so gross. Facade doesn't get boosted in sleep, but Guts does. So simply just coming in and doing what it's supposed to do and soak up hits and then just rest and sleep talk. If you don't have a normal resist, and if your normal resist is a steel type, having access to Fire Punch and Earthquake, and if it's a ghost type, having access to things like Shadow Claw or Crunch, very good mon. It has everything that it needs, and if you bring a good fighting type switch in, this Pokemon can literally just run house and wall your entire team. I think it's really, really good. I feel like I had to say that
a little bit. Just to cut in a little bit, Screamtail does get the bulk up as well, so it does have a little bit of offense, but it's not an immediate offensive threat.
It does. And then this is the last round for a lot of teams, so we'll see how they kind of cap this thing off. We got the bugs, baby. We got Bust and we got Kricketune. It's just the bug bus is rolling up, baby. I wanted webs too. Everyone got webs. I want webs too. This Pokemon also got access to knockoff too, which is really nice. But you know, the suicide lead and get them up for Chinpow, for Landora is a very good Pokemon to get things going. I can put things to sleep, which is really nice. And Bust just soaks up hits, sets up sticky webs, and Volt switches out. The Bust is the Bust. It soaks up the hits. It's literally able to check up the weirdest thing. So it's a good defensive Pokemon.
Well, since Will finished off his team with the Thwacky last round, I get to talk about my own pick in Cinderace. And to see Cinderace still sitting there, coming on to like round 10, I was like, I have to budget to get the Cinderace, because this thing is such an offensive threat, and it gives me a lot of momentum to pair alongside the Cyclizar and the Zapdos Galar, as well as the Morpeko, because my whole idea was to try and momentum into the Ursaluna, so that's really nice. And we got Flygon with the Crocodile. I love Crocodile. It's such a fat, unaware Pokemon with Eviolite. Still gets access to Slack Off like Skeledirge, so really, really nice there.
Alright, we got the Ice Cube. Oh my god. So, it's obviously just like the one-trick pony that everybody knows about, but at the same time, you're scared of it because it's just like, if you click the wrong move on this guy, you probably just lose. Belly Drum, I think this thing has Terra too. I mean, it's Ice Cube, man. It's gonna do Ice Cube things. It's got a Belly Drum, it's gonna do all that fancy stuff. Honchkrow going this late, in my opinion, a little surprising because I think a lot of people undervalue Honchkrow. It's just such an oppressive offensive Pokemon. It can spiral so out of control so quickly with Moxie boosted Sucker Punches. And it gets U-turn this generation, which I think makes it so much better.
And then we have Electrode, which is, I want to say, I will put this big note. Electrode is a Terra Captain. Very fast Pokemon, base 150 speed, and having access to be able to turn into an Ice type and a Grass type is really cool. Issues for Dragon types are an issue for it because he didn't choose Fairy with it, but that's totally okay. This Pokemon is very good to be able to just come in and just clean up games if you're not careful with it. And we talked about it before, and I get my chance to talk about it now. I think that Pikachu should at least be a 4-point Pokemon. It's very, very strong. It's not very fast, but access to Volt Tackles, Extreme Speeds, Thunderbolts that are stronger than Thunderous Therians, very good with Light Ball. But these two electric types are very good to cap off these teams for some speed to clean up at the end game.
So we've got the double ice pick here. So we've got young Cryogonal giving Dashing yet another spinner, because that just allows the Donphan to not be the solo spinner and forced into a roll. So I really like Cryo here as well, because if he can set up Manual Snow and not have to worry about dealing with the physical attackers, it can set up a Veil as well, so that's a really nice addition to pair with the Ogerpon and the Palafin. And then Misery picking up the Frostlass. I love Frostlass, and this thing is just so nice with spikes as well as Destiny Bond and just a really fast offensive threat.
Alright, we got Scrub here with the Tropius, one of the most annoying Pokemon if you've ever played random battles in Pokemon Showdown. But it's gonna do its typical harvest thing. It does have a sun mode, though with this team I don't think you're gonna see that much, if at all. It's probably just gonna do its usual thing of setting up leech seeds, setting up substitutes, getting that recovery with those citrus berry harvests. It's gonna be pretty annoying, and it could be pretty matchup specific. Some matchups could really struggle. Then we got Masquerain. I really like Masquerain. Sticky Web, Quiver Dance, Hydro Pump, Bug Buzz, Air Slash hits surprisingly hard at like +1, +2, can spiral out of control, while giving your team a lot of offensive qualities with that Sticky Web support. I really like it.
Yeah, Masquerain's dope. I like that Pokemon a lot. It's a good glue piece to be able to set up the webs. All of a sudden, like, everyone's like, I want webs, everyone gets webs. You get a web, everyone gets a web. So that's actually the end of the vast majority of the teams. We're going to go into round number 12 here, which actually only consists of 2 teams in general, which had the 12th pick. So all the teams that have shown, aside from the ones we're about to go, have 11 Pokemon. So we were allowed 9 to 12, I believe, no, 10 to 12 Pokemon per draft, which is why some people seem like as if they were skipped. If you want a little bit more in-depth analysis on what they were thinking while this was going on, and then at that point just go over to that channel and then go from there. Right now we have Sudowoodo here for Onesie Bennett, because Onesie Bennett did also get an 11th Pokemon. And I'm actually going to double check because Discord's going to slow it down a little bit, and I'm going to double check something real quick as I talk about Sudowoodo. Sudowoodo is a 1-point Pokemon that is also a Terra Captain. This Mon hits so fucking hard. It gets Rockhead, and they also gave us Spikes and Stealth Rock. It could be a good suicide lead with Sturdy, which is actually kind of ironic, and having access to things like Rockhead boosted Head Smashes is actually kind of nuts, as well as Wood Hammers if it is Terra Grass. So it could be an ironic sweeper. So Kurt, what do you think about this Oranguru as this is going through?
I think Oranguru is definitely a good Gloomon. It's a nice bulky normal type to go with this team. It can switch in on the ghost types that currently the only switch-in they had for Shadow Ball was the Roaring Moon, which most Ghost types at this point have Dazzling Gleam, so it wasn't an amazing Ghost switch. So picking up the Oranguru to be a Ghost pivot is really, really nice, and I think that this team has a lot of potential with the Oranguru. Especially with the Inner Focus not being able to flinch.
Yeah, Oranguru is it's an ironic bulky Pokemon. There's one more here coming up, and we'll pass this off to Flygon.
Damn, this went this late? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I really like the Hisuian Typhlosion. I mean, even without Terra, it doesn't need it because Eruption still hits crazy hard. You never want to switch into an Eruption on this thing. A really good ability in Wrist. I think Fire Ghost is an incredible stab coverage. Ask Chandelure that. And yeah, this thing is just really threatening offensively. Just to see it go this late, I feel like the entire theme of this draft was seeing so many good Pokemon go a lot later than you really thought they would. Just so many Pokemon like that, and this is a prime example of that last round. Crazy.
Yeah, you save those points for big endings. So as you can tell, the moral of the story of round number 11 is the Uva Division just went all in. We're just gonna spend all of the points. So there's a lot more. Everyone's like, I don't need 12 Pokemon. There are two teams we're gonna show you here on the slide, and then we'll cap this off at the end here. We're gonna show you the last pick for the oh my god, I keep butchering this name. The Naruhata Hoppers. Say that 10 times fast.
That's it.
And then the Texas Tyrants for the only teams that have these final two picks. So basically they're running 12 Pokemon. So I'll go ahead and start this off. We have Dracloak. Dracloak is one of those Pokemon that I believe it also has Terra. I have time here, so I'm just gonna
he's Terra Dracloak.
Yeah, so he does have Terra Dracloak, and the typings that he has for it is, let's pull up this up real quick, Uva Division. I want to pull this up because this is a Pokemon that's actually kind of threatening with Terra, ironically enough. So we're going to pull this, Uva tier list, teams, Terra types, boom. So he has, on this mon, that's Uva, upload, tier, where the heck is the Nara? Oh, there he is. So, he did not put Terra on it. We have this.
On the Dracloak, he's in the Uva. He put Ghost Fairy Steel on the Dracloak.
So very good mon. Having access to base 102 speed, Dracloak, ironically enough, could be pretty threatening. It doesn't get Dragon Darts. I think it does get Dragon Dance though. So this could be one of those Pokemon that can come in on like a rapid spin and set up Dragon Dance, which could actually be kind of threatening. It struggles with things like Fairy types. But now that it has access to being able to be a Steel type is really cool. I'm interested to see if he can power through a good Steel type, but we'll see how that goes. But Dracloak is one of those Pokemon that you would see typically on a matchup and be like, not really a Pokemon. But now that it has Terra, he does have to waste his Terra on the Dracloak, but it is still a filler thing that you do have to keep in mind. But what do you think about that, the Luxray over with the Texas Tyrants?
I really like the Luxray here. I love Luxray. I picked it up in LET and I've loved it ever since I picked it up. It's just, it got Trailblaze now, so being able to guts Trailblaze, it just hits so hard. It also, and then you have Ice Fang, Wild Charge, Crunch, Facade. It just has a lot of utility. It's got a really nice Intimidator, so it can be a nice bulky electric, because it doesn't have bad bulk, 80, 79, 79 is not bad bulk when you add Intimidate onto that equation. And being a pure electric, only having the ground weakness is really, really good for it to be a defensive electric type.
So we're just gonna run one more thing before we end off stream here. First of all, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We really do appreciate it. If you guys haven't already, in the link to the description, or in the description of this video, will be a link, there you go, to the Discord server. So hop on in there if you guys want to hang out with us. Also grab those rolls to get the notification when these videos go up. The draft analysis and the breakdowns for each and every coach will be trickled out throughout the weekend. They did have the liberty to be able to upload them today or tomorrow, so make sure you keep your eyes out for that. And having the rolls is gonna be much easier for you to keep up with us. But we're just gonna run through all the Terra captains as we go through here. So for the Uva Division, we have myself with Goodra holding on to the Dragon, Water, and Fairy typing. I'm gonna roll with Staraptor with the normal, flying, and fighting type Terra. The San Antonio Sparse have Florges with the Fairy, Ground, and Fire typing. Kilowattrel, which is crazy, for flying, water, and ice. Kurt's rolling with the Ogerpon Water, which is actually really good, and it was allowed. Why? We'll see how that goes. And then we have Ursaring, Ghost, and Fighting. Very good Pokemon. Talonflame, the Atlanta Talonflames are running Armarouge with Psychic, Grass, and Dragon. Hoopa is running Ghost, Fairy, and Electric. Los Crams running Pikachu with the Electric, Flying, Water type. Avalug, Ghost, Water, Ice. Sinistra, Ghost, Psychic, and Grass. The Columbus Swoo running Meloetta with Normal, Fighting, and Fairy. Sneasel, Dark, Fighting, and Ground. That's a threatening late game sweeper.
Oh my god.
The Spine Chilling Gengar rolling with Glamora with the Poison, Water, and Grass typing. Delphox has the Fire, Fairy, and Ground type. We've got the Milton Force with Noivern and the Normal, Steel, and Flying type. Normal boosted Boom Burst, which is pretty crazy. Electros with the Steel, Electric, and Water typing. The Appalachia Appletons rolling Vikavolt with Electric, Ice, and Ground. Flareon, Fighting, Fire, Normal, Electrode, Electric, Ice, and Grass. The Seattle Sigilyph have Toxtricity with the Electric, Normal, and Flying type. Articuno Galarian form with Flying, Fighting, and Steel. That's a good one. Motor City Rotoms, Charizard, Fire, Water, Fairy. Altaria, Dragon, Fairy, Steel. Dracloak, Ghost, Fairy, Steel. And then we have the Rustboro City Rejects holding on to Jolteon with the Electric, Ice, and Water typing. Decidueye with Ghost, Grass, and Flying. We're kind of rapid spinning these things off here, but the next one we have for the Naranja Division, rolling up for the top, we have the Charlotte Chandelures with Basculegion holding the Water, Ghost, and Fairy typing. Ariados, Bug, Ghost, Fire. Dunsparce, Normal, Fairy, Water. Then we have the Walking Wakes. And then we have Ambipom, which is pretty good with Normal, Ghost, and Flying. Hoopa, Ghost, Fairy, Fighting. The Florida Flygons rolling Ogerpon Water formation with that Water typing, pretty good. We have Espeon with Psychic, Fairy, and Fighting. That's a good pick as well. McChesney Park Snowpokes. We have Victory Bell, which is very threatening with the Grass, Fire, and Fairy type. Dusknoir with Ghost, Fire, Ghost, Fairy, and Water. Ice-Q with Ice, Fire, Electric. And then we have the Naruto Hoppers with Inteleon with Water, Fire, and Fairy. Frostlass with Ice, Ghost, and Ground. Pikachu again with Electric, Ice, and Fairy. The Florida Dirge are rolling with Mienshao with the Fighting, Flying, and Fairy typing. Squawkabilly, that one's huge. Squawkabilly with Normal, Flying, and Ghost. Tropius with Flying, Dragon, Fire. The Las Vegas Cinderaces are rolling with Moltres with the Fire, Grass, and Steel typing. Avalug Hisuian form with the Rock, Ghost, and Water. Just a few more here, guys. We have the Solihi Skarmours with the Cyclizar with Normal, Dragon, Flying. Grottle, Grass, Steel, and Rock. Sudowoodo with Rock, Grass, and Fighting. Snorlax, which is very good, Normal, Ghost, and Fighting. Metacham rolling very threatening with the Fighting, Dark, and Fairy typing. We got the Toronto Tinkatinks with Magnezone, Electric, Grass, and Fairy. That's a good one. Flamigo, the Goat with Fighting, Flying, and Steel. Haw River Houndooms with Trevenant with the Grass, Steel, and Rock type. Copperaja with the Steel, Ground, and Ghost type. Miss Magius for the Texas Tyrants is rolling Ghost, Electric, and Fairy. And finally, we have Jolteon with the Electric, Ice, and Grass typing. Again, the draft analysis will be posted on each and everyone's channel to give a little bit more in depth on what they were thinking out throughout the draft. And Kurt, do you have any other final thoughts before we head on out here?
Honestly, I'm just hoping that we have a really good season. It's our first upload mandatory season, so this should be a lot of fun. I'm hoping to have a lot of good competition from both divisions, and I'm excited to see who can actually make it through the playoffs.
What about you, Flygon? What do you think? What's your last final thoughts before we head on out here?
Oh, dude, I'm so excited for this. We have so many talented people here. All of these teams are just so well built, and I'm so excited to see the competition throughout the weeks. I'm excited to see the content throughout the weeks, and I think this should just be an awesome season, and everyone should check everybody out, because I think as the season's going to progress, it's going to get more and more hype, and that's going to build up more and more.
For me, my final thoughts, guys, it's going to be a fantastic league. Coming from someone that would like to think that I have my hand in a lot of pots around the community, this league is going to be very special. I do see a lot of brand new faces that are getting their foot in the content creation door, And I'm also very excited that my channel has something that doesn't have the VBR on it, which is really cool. We'll have something changing off. Guys, if you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Again, in the description of this video is a link to the Discord server. Be sure to hop in there if you have an account. It is completely free. And to subscribe to each and every coach, that's just also free. So just support everyone that is here. This league is going to be really, really awesome. We have a lot of hot takes that were allowed in this league. I think that we're the only ones. We're going to roll that dice on D.Rey. So if you guys want to see that roll around, that's going to be pretty cool. There's a lot of teams here, and the format is really awesome. Whoever wins the Naranja Division will face the winner of the Uva Division in an Ultimate Championship game, which could be a mirror matchup, so that'll be a fun time. There's going to be a lot of really cool things that are happening this season you don't want to miss out. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you guys giving me the honor to host this draft stream. I'm also a part of the league, so make sure you watch out for me. And with that being said, guys, that's all we got. Make sure you guys head down to the description, get into the Discord server. We appreciate your time. You guys have a great rest of your Saturday, and above all else, be nice. Peace. Peace out, guys. Have a great rest of your day.